Hey there, it's Nicole Lewis-Keeber, the author of How to Live Your Business, and you are here for the author read along. If you want to grab your copy, you can on Amazon. There's a Kindle version and also a hard copy like this. Or if you just want to hang out and let me read to you, that is also why we are here. We are going to be rolling into chapter 9 today. And as always, any flubs or missteps on my part, we'll just kind of acknowledge them and keep going because we don't do perfectionism here. So let's jump in and talk about how to love your money. This is always a topic people are very interested in learning more about. So, I grew up in a Southern Baptist family in North Carolina. We were taught that money was not the most important thing to strive for, and that both being of service and giving money were the virtues. One of the tenets of our church was that parishioners would be mission oriented, which by default made me a giver. While I am no longer Southern Baptist, the impact of that upbringing is still with me today, and for most of my life has informed my decisions around money. Both of my sisters and I went into service-oriented careers, and I don't think that that's a coincidence. I went on to get a bachelor's in community service and family relations and a master's degree in social work. And I always joke that I took a vow of poverty early out in my career, and I'm okay with that. I never aspired to be rich or have a lot of money. But my relationship with money is not that simple. You see, not only was I raised Southern Baptist household, but I also grew up religiously watching soap operas. Even my pap watched The Young and the Restless and would record his stories if he had to be out so that he could so he could be sure to see what old Victor Newman's what you call him, old Victor Newman, was up to. And I spent hours watching The Young and the Restless and As the World Turns with him. Both shows were about families staking out their wealth and fighting over power and money. The wealthiest person in the room was usually the bad guy, and to say that I grew up with complicated ideas about money would be an understatement. To further this television education, I also grew up in the 80s watching shows like Dallas, Knots Landing, and Dynasty, where people dripping with money and strove for excess at all costs. This money lust did have a very high cost in it and created chaos within these TV families. Resentments and scandal. I mean, where was the love here? There was none. So, when, where, and how you grew up, including the kind of television you watch, all have an enormous impact on how you view money. Think about it right now. What were the phrases that you grew up with, hearing the people around you say about money? Money doesn't grow on trees. Money is the root of all evil. Or my personal favorite, you can't have that unless you have a rich uncle who dies and leaves you money. My dad literally told me that when I wanted to go to college because no money for college. Unless you have a rich uncle who dies, I figured it out. Our views about money were shaped by those around us with unconscious phrases like these. From family, friends, and television characters, we pick up impressions about whether money is good or bad, safe or dangerous. All of those experiences have an impact on how we move forward as adults, especially regarding our relationship with money. I started my coaching career with a focus on money and mindset, so I could write a whole book about this topic. Instead, I'll just give you some references at the end of this chapter for best books on money and mindset. One day I was giving a talk on a monthly meeting for local women business owners on how childhood experiences and childhood trauma impact our relationship with money. During the Q&A part of the talk, a woman stood up, grabbed the mic and asked, "So you're telling me that my life now as an adult, including my money and how I earn and spend it, is all wrapped up in my childhood?" I nodded yes. "I don't buy it," she said. I asked her if I could ask a few personal questions, follow-up questions, and if she would be willing to do that. She said yes. So I said, "What is your favorite meal?" "Lasagna," she said, not skipping a beat. "And not just any lasagna, it has to be my Nona's recipe. I still make it once a month for Sunday dinner." "Do you follow sports?" I asked. "Yes," she said, "the Steelers." All the way we are, oh, Steelers all the way. We're a Steelers family. My dad took us to some games back in the day, and when we could not go, we always watched it on TV together. Okay. I said, "Are you religious?" "Yes, I'm Catholic. I don't go to Mass as much as I used to, but I still see myself as a Catholic." "So, where did you learn to love lasagna, the Steelers, and the Catholic Church?" "My parents and my grandparents. It's just how I was raised." She stopped. She was silent for a minute. Then she said, "I get it. I am who I am, and I believe what I believe because of my childhood, and why would money be any different?" And I said, "Exactly my point." She was smart. One of the biggest mistakes that small business owners or entrepreneurs can make is not examining their beliefs and behaviors around money. That that need to change. You must examine your relationship with money, or you will have a difficult time making it, keeping it, or feeling secure about it. Here are the most common mistakes that I see small business owners and entrepreneurs making around money, including myself. Like, again, these are all things that I've had to work through and continue to work through in my own business. So it's not like hey, this is a problem you all have. It's like, this is something that we are all working on. So, number one, not examining childhood experiences. They have not examined the relationship between their childhood experiences around money and how they relate to it now. They've not asked themselves if they want this relationship to be different. Two is having a fixed mindset. Their mindset about money is fixed and not open. Odd as it may sound, some people limit the amount of money that they can make, even going so far as to sabotage opportunities for making more money. One client, for example, was used to making $30,000 as a social worker. I watched her default to making the same amount almost to the dollar, even when she switched professions. People who have this kind of mentality, fixed limit, don't ask for a raise, or take on new projects, or seek new opportunities for expanding their income or business, and they don't even know they're really doing this. Number three is not practicing gratitude. They've not done the work, so making gratitude part of their daily practice, and as a result, they lose sight of how amazing each dollar they earn is. This has the potential to prevent them from earning more. I have a gratitude practice every day, even if, whether it has to do with money, that I have a home, like being and expressing gratitude. I think in life is one of the most important things that we can do, especially now. So, yeah. Okay. Four, choosing the wrong guides. They allow closed-minded people to have input on their future and their business. You should share your financial goals with trusted advisors like a business coach, a fellow entrepreneur. Steer clear of risk-averse family members. Your mom or your uncle who always put money in bonds, they're not the people to talk to. While it's understandable that you would want the buy-in from your family members, some of them just will not have a frame of reference for understanding the financial risks that you are taking. So they may not be supportive of your goals. So number five is not setting a goal. Um, let's see. They have not first set a financial goal and then set a big toe curling goal. So dreaming big and believing it is possible are skills to cultivate. Setting a goal is important. Let's see. Hang on, my glasses are foggy. Number six is not examining emotional trauma. We've talked about that so far. They've not examined any emotional trauma connected to difficulty or stress around money. Big. Number seven is willful ignorance about finances. Some business owners afraid to learn that numbers are low opt to ignore the financial details of their business altogether. Often this fear is rooted in the belief that profitability equals worthiness and lack of profits equals unworthiness. Business, here's the thing. Businesses go up and down. Like, this is the one, if I had to say I struggle with something the most, it's this one, because business goes up and down, and I can make the entirety of my revenue for my business in the last 3 months of the year. And so knowing your financials is crucial, and also knowing that it is a snapshot for now and not the biggest picture. So number eight is not having boundaries. Some business owners give things away underpriced products or services, or change the price before even talking to potential clients. Others lack boundaries around their time, agreeing to meet with other entrepreneurs for a coffee before even finishing their own projects for the week. Remember that time is money, and don't squander either at the expense of your own success. Doesn't mean you can't be generous with time with other people. It just needs to happen around own boundaries. Never, ever, 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 ever let someone tell you to charge what you're worth. Though it may seem like a wise sentiment at first glance, it ultimately undervalues you because you are priceless. No amount of money can touch what you are worth. So make sure you set your money goals from a place that is congruent with the vision and mission that you and your business have agreed upon. For instance, if you want to be a solopreneur and your goals do not include making a lot of money, that's fine. Doesn't matter. Not everyone needs a seven-figure income. It is what works for you. Well, let's talk a little bit about money trauma. Money trauma is any experience you've had where you were a child that changed how you saw your security and safety in the world. I have a client Tammy, who had a degree in marketing but had chosen a career as a lifelong nanny. She worked for a wealthy family but never asked for a raise. We did some work and realized that she was stuck in a pattern of devaluing money because of the trauma from her own childhood. When Tammy was 7, her father abandoned her and her sister and her mother while he went on to get a really good job later and even had a beautiful home. Tammy and her sister and mother struggled to have food left over at the end of the week. Very different experiences that she was having. But when she went over to her father's house, he clearly didn't have any worries about money. He had, for example, 2 gallons of milk in the fridge, unlike Tammy, who worried that 1 gallon wouldn't last through the end of the week. As a 7-year-old, Tammy said to herself internally, probably not consciously, money will never be important to me because I will never be like him. She grew up valuing being frugal. In fact, she became so frugal that she was someone who would dumpster dive, shop thrift stores, and she wore this poverty behavior as a badge. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people that this is part of like sustainability practices, about anti-capitalistic practices, not putting any of that down. This particular person was behaving in a way that had to do with her own internal struggle around trauma and around money equaling something that she didn't want to deal with. So, what we determined in our work together was that every time she said yes to a nanny job getting paid very little money, she was doing 2 things. She was rejecting money because she didn't want to be like her dad, but she was also saying to her 7-year-old self, I pick you. In effect, she was saying, I choose you over money. You are more important. She was time hopping back to her 7-year-old self and saying, you're important. I choose you over this raise, over this other job. Like, you're important. So we're going to say no to this raise, no to making more money, because she kept trying to go back and retrieve herself. So when she became conscious of this pattern and recognized that she had deep trauma in her life around money, she was able to make a radical change. She left the low paying nanny job and got a job in marketing, the field that she had trained in. She also wrote a grant to get paid to do volunteer work that she was already doing. And by the end of that year, she had earned $54,000 more because of that aha moment around early trauma with money, right? In the comment section of this video, I'll put some of the most recent money mindset types of books that I think are good. I will admit the list here that I have this book is dated, and there are some of these that I would not recommend anymore. So might be time for an update on this book. So we'll see. Yes, so I'll put that updated list in the comment section. That is it about money and trauma and the relationship that you build with it around your business. If you have any questions or comments, or if there's anything you want to share, please let me know. And we're going to move on to chapter 10 in the next video. So thanks for being here.